So part B, using polynomial long division to check factors. So the key information is if there's no remainder after dividing, then the divisor is a factor of the polynomial, the dividend. Okay? Not only is the divisor a factor, but your quotient is a factor. Okay? All right. So here they ask us use polynomial long division to divide p of x equals 3x to the 4th minus 4x to the 3rd plus 12x squared plus 5 by x squared plus 1. And it wants to know, is x squared plus 1 a factor? If it's a factor, what should the value of my remainder be? 0, exactly. So step 1 is setting it up. So I have x squared plus 0x plus 1 divided by 3x to the 4th minus 4x to the 3rd plus 12x squared plus 0x plus 5. Notice I was missing my linear factor. Step 2 tells me to divide. So I have 3x to the 4th divided by x squared. So 3x to the 4th divided by x squared equals 3x squared. Huh? It's 3x squared. I'm going to multiply that quotient that I just got by my divisor. So 3x squared times x squared is 3x to the 4th. 3x squared times 0x is 0x cubed. 3x squared times 1 is 3x squared. So step 3 of multiplying is done. Step 4 is to subtract. When we're subtracting, we're changing the signs. So we have negative 4x cubed minus 0x cubed is still negative 4x cubed. We have 12x squared minus 3x squared. That's going to give me 9x squared. Step 5 is to bring down if the degree of your remainder is not less than the degree of your divisor, and it is not. So I'm going to bring down and repeat. So we bring down and repeat. So we have 4x cubed divided by x squared. So negative 4x cubed divided by x squared equals negative 4x. So that goes on my quotient bar. I'm going to multiply negative 4x times x squared, 0x, and 1. Negative 4x times x squared is negative 4x cubed. Negative 4x times 0x is 0x squared. Negative 4x times 1 is negative 4x. So I've divided, I've multiplied. Now I'm going to subtract. Again, subtracting means I'm just changing the signs and combining. So 9 minus 0x squared is 9x squared. 0 plus 4x is 4x. Now we're at the bring down. I will bring down because the degree of my remainder is not less than the degree of my divisor. I'm going to bring down the 5. So we have 9x squared divided by x squared. 9x squared divided by x squared equals 9. I'm going to multiply. So we divide it. Now we're on to multiplying. 9 times x squared is 9x squared. 9 times 0x is 0x. 9 times 1 is 9. Multiplication done. Now I'm going to subtract. So I subtract. That leaves me with 4x plus 14. And I'm not going to have to bring down because the degree of my remainder is less than the degree of my divisor. All right, correction. I did not change my sign. So it was a +9, now it's a -9, and that leaves us with -4. So this time my remainder is actually a linear polynomial, 4x minus 4. Is this 0? No. So my remainder is not 0. Therefore, answering the question, is x squared plus 1 a factor of the polynomial? X squared plus 1 is not a factor. And that's because my remainder did not equal 0. All right, let's try another example. So here we have x squared minus 1, and we have x to the 4th plus 4x squared minus 5. For this one, for step 1, I wanted to show you that because of how this is set up and the type of quartic this is, I actually can solve this without adding in fillers. Okay, so same thing, going through your steps, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. So we're going to divide x 4th divided by x squared gives me x squared. Agreed? X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times -1 is negative x squared. Change our signs. And we're left with 3x squared. (3x squared) is still not less than x squared minus 1. The degree is not. So we're going to bring down. And we're going to divide again. So we have 3x squared divided by x squared. That gives me, I don't know what I just did there, y'all. Thank you. It is not. I'm going to blame it on the weather. I was like, I thought this worked out. It's like y'all read my mind. I was like, what did I do last night? All right, plus 5. So then we multiply, and we have 5x squared minus 5, subtract, which means we're changing the signs, and we're left with what? 0. So what does that mean about x squared minus 1? X squared minus 1 is a factor. Okay, so therefore, x4 plus 4x squared minus 5 equals x squared minus 1 times x squared plus 5. All right, so we would do long division if it's anything other than a linear. But for linear, there is a shorter way of doing it without having to do long division. And I'm going to pause here. Okay, so when it's a linear, you can use the factor theorem. And the factor theorem is saying if f of a equals 0, then x minus a is a factor of f of x. So steps to use the factor theorem. Set the factor equal to 0 and solve for x. The factor theorem check. Take the value of x and substitute it into the polynomial. If the answer is 0, then yes, it's a factor. Then if it asks you to find anything else, then you use long division to find the quotient remaining factor. So for example here, we have x minus 2, and we want to know, is it a factor of x to the 4th minus 16? Okay, so step 1 tells us to take what we're checking as a factor, x minus 2, set it equal to 0. We get x equals 2. And we're going to take that value that we got from there, and we're going to substitute it into the polynomial. So we're going to do p of 2 equals 2 to the 4th minus 16. And this gives us 16 minus 16, which equals 0. Since that is true, then x minus 2 is a factor. So we now know that x minus 2 is a factor of x to the 4th minus 16. And then it says, continue and write as a product of factors. So then we would continue. And step 3, not 2, we would go ahead and do long division. So we have x minus 2 divided by x to the 4th minus 16. So divide x to the 4th divided by x is x to the 3rd. Oh, I didn't put in my fillers. Uh-oh. Let's backtrack. Lesson learned here. Make sure you write your fillers. So we have x minus 2 divided by x to the 4th plus 0x third plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 16. All right, so x to the 4th divided by x is x to the 3rd. That gives me x to the 4th minus 2x cubed. Then I'm going to, so I divide, multiply, now I'm going to subtract. And I'm left with 2x to the 3rd, still greater than my degree. So I bring down plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 16. And I repeat, divide 2x cubed divided by x gives me 2x squared. And that gives me 2x cubed after I multiply. 2x squared times negative 2 is negative 4x squared. Subtract, I'm left with 4x squared. 4x squared is still a higher degree than x minus 2. So I'm going to bring down. So plus 0x minus 16. And then I divide again. 4x squared divided by x. And it's going to give me 4x. I'm going to multiply. That gives me 4x squared minus 8x. And I have ran out of room to bring down, but I'm going to subtract. I'm going to have to scoot over here a little bit. So I subtract, and I'm left with 8x, and I bring down 16. 8x divided by x is 8. And I'm going to multiply. So I have 8 times x is 8x. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. Subtract. And I'm left with the remainder of 0, which it should be because x minus 2 is a factor. So then p of x equals x minus 2 times x to the 3rd plus 2x squared plus 4x plus 8. And if I wanted to factor this anymore, I could use grouping, and I could factor this all the way down. So if I was to continue with grouping, I have x cubed, x squared, 4x, and 8. That gives me x squared. And I have x plus 2 plus 4x plus 2. And then that gives me x plus 2 times x squared plus 4. So if I wanted to completely factor, boom. But it says write a product of 2 factors, so I wouldn't have to go that far. So my answers, p of x equals x minus 2 times x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4x plus 8, which equals x minus 2 times x plus 2 times x squared plus 4. And that's how that would work.